What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. So 5 games in and nothing's changed. I was really hoping. I don't know why, but I was really hoping. I'm thinking, okay, yeah, we're getting a new manager in. Hopefully that gives us a boost. We'll see some different tactics, some different styles brought in. No, 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 no. Oh, nope. It's the same. It's all the same. It's exactly the same as we had under Lampard. We've changed the personnel a little bit. Now Jorginho and Alonso have a bit of a chance to get into the side now. Formation has changed a little bit. You know, we're going with a back three more often. We're actually changing up our formation a little bit more. Style, tactics, still the same. Still the exact same thing that it was under Lampard. It's dull. It's boring. It's slow. There's a lack of movement. We're playing around in our back line. Even when there's 6 guys up front, we're still trying to play around in our back line. And then we give it away, and we give it away, and we give it away, and we give it away. Driving me crazy again! This is exactly how I felt when I was watching us play under Lampard. That same slow build-up play that leads to nothing. And it just... Oh, well, we don't have an option there, so I'm going to go back to my defender who's under pressure from 3 guys, and then he's going to go to his other defender who's under pressure from 2 other guys, and then we're going to go out wide, and we're going to get past this first little line of people that are pressuring us. And then instead of going past this 5 or 6 that have been left up front, let's go back into that 5 or 6 again, and then give it away and give them a chance, because we want to give them a chance, right? Like, we don't want to be mean. We don't want to, like, blow them out of the water. So let's play under pressure more, right? Let's do that. I don't get it. I mean, I was laughing my ass off watching Liverpool try to play out of the back against Man City and give the ball away from Alisson twice to set up goals. Not once, twice. That was cracking me up. I'm like, that's hilarious. You guys are stupid. We're stupid too! When we go face Man City, we're going to do the same thing. Pass, 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 give it away. Oh, they scored again? Dang, man, I can't believe we're still trying to play out of the back after we've given it away like 10 times in the past minute. Oh, God. I know we won. Like, I'm acting like we lost. It felt like we did. I'm watching and it feels like we've lost because, my God, we got dominated. What was the stats again? I forgot to look that up. What was the stats? Because I know they had more shots than us, for sure. Oh, man. It was so frustrating to watch. Yeah, 72% of possession. They had 14 shots to our 6. They had 4 shots on target to our 1. They had 7 corners. We had 2. They made 21 tackles. We made 12. And then offsides. Who cares about offside? But that's like ridiculous. We had 3/4 of the possession, and they outshot us 2 times over. They had more shots on target than we did by 4 times. We had 1 shot on target. That's embarrassing. That is freaking embarrassing. God, I don't understand how things have just basically not changed at all. When you get a new manager, things are supposed to be different, right? You want to go get a manager who's going to do something different, right? Why is everything the same? So yeah, let's talk about Tuchel. First of all, the formation. I don't really understand why we're going with a back 3 again. Like, I guess if you're trying to stick with this one formation, like, this is going to be our new thing. But yeah, against the championship side, that just doesn't seem smart. And sure enough, the entire first half was theirs. I mean, let's be honest. Until he made the switch at halftime, it was Barnsley's game. And then he made the switch, and we started to play better, and then we dropped off again, and then the last 20 minutes was Barnsley's game again. Like, they controlled the game. Like, not possession-wise, but they were the better team for at least, I'd say 60 minutes out of this match, at least. They were the better team than us. They deserved to go through. If not for the fact that they can't finish and we just happen to have one brilliant play that led to a goal, like, that's the difference sometimes, right? You have a terrible game, but then your opposition is championship quality. So, they come in and they just take it to you all game, but they can't finish. 14 shots, 4 on target, but, you make some good blocks, you make a couple good saves, and then you just get that one chance that turns into a goal. Like, that's, honestly, it's something that happens more for the underdogs, right? But in our situation, we had all the possession, but again, we don't create anything with it. We don't look to do anything. I got back on that for some reason. But yeah, formation-wise, like going with the 3-4-3 to start, I don't really understand it. Personnel-wise, you go with Emerson as one of your back three? I'm sorry, what? That really didn't make any sense to me. But he gave Alonso another start, which I don't know. I feel like maybe give him a break this one. Maybe let Emerson play as the left wing back on this one. You don't need to go with Alonso again, but whatever. That's what he did. And then you had Hudson-Odoi as a right wing back. I don't mind seeing that. I'd like to see what he can do out there. And honestly, he didn't too poorly when he was out wide. But then your midfield, you got two that haven't really played in this system. You got Conte, who came in for one game, and even then, I'm pretty sure he came in as part of more of a three. He dropped in with Kovacic and Jorginho, if I'm not mistaken. Or did he play? I think he may have been subbed on for Kovacic, now I'm thinking about it. But then you got Gilmore, who, is coming into this new system as well. So you got two new midfielders that haven't played in several games. Conte came in for subs, but that's it. And then your front three is, you got Abraham, you got Ziyech, and you got Pulisic. So not necessarily a bad front three, but a front three that haven't really played together much. They haven't. So it's kind of a newer lineup, so it's not bad to see. I don't mind seeing like some players that haven't played in a little bit or some players that haven't started in a little bit. I don't mind seeing that. The problem is though it's difficult to do that. It's difficult, especially you got a lot of young players out there too. It's harder for young players to just fit into a new system, and do what they're supposed to do their job in this new system. So I like the fact that he's trying to give some of these youngsters a chance, but also shouldn't be too surprised whenever we're not creating as much because they're trying to figure out how to play in this system. So I think that was a lot of what hurt us in the first half. But again, going into the second half, he made some switches at halftime, brought on Rudiger for Christensen, which felt like it should have been Emerson, but I guess he wanted to go with the back four now, because then his other sub was Reece James came on for Alonso, so now James and Emerson were your fullbacks, and then it was more of a 4-2-3-1 at that point. So at that switch, we did start to take it to him a little bit more, and a lot of that is just because now with that back four, you got enough cover to where now you can get more involved in the attack. With the back three, you have to rely on those wing backs to stay back as well. They can't just stay forward. With the back four, now your wings can stay up a little bit, and they can provide that outlet. So it definitely helped us. We started to create some more chances. But the problem started to become, again, it was too slow. So even though we now have more possession and we're actually doing something with it, we're creating better chances, it's still too slow when you get into that final third. There's still not enough movement, and that's where I got to wonder, what is Tuchel doing differently? Because that was one of my biggest complaints under Lampard, is there was a lack of movement, seemed like there was a lack of energy as well. So what are we doing differently now? Because it feels all the same, at least as far as the problems are concerned. The problems feel the exact same. So why has he not brought anything different? How hard is it to say, hey, when you get up there, don't just stand? You make that run, the ball didn't come to you, all right, well, check back, make another run, or make a run out wide, curl your run, so now the defender has to track you. But that doesn't happen. They make the one run, and they either stand just onside, or they run, and then they throw their hands up because they didn't get the ball, and then they're done. That's high school stuff. I coached high school soccer. I know what high school soccer looks like. That's high school stuff. To get frustrated because you didn't get the ball. To stop playing because you didn't get the ball. To stop because you made your one run and you don't do anything else. That's kid stuff. And I realize there are a couple of teenagers out there. Actually, just two. And Joran, I think, was the other one aside from Gilmore. But those aren't the players that are stopping. Those aren't the players that are making the one run and then done. Like, it's Abraham, who should, he's still young, but he should have grown a little bit. at least in the past year. It's Ziyech, who's not a kid. It's Pulisic, who, again, he's played on a high level for quite a while, so he should know better than to not just make one run and stand. So that's, in my opinion, the one major factor why I'm not convinced on Tuchel at all is because he's come into a team where essentially if you just get them motivated, if you get them to make runs, if you get them to do the basic of attack, you should be okay. Like, that was the biggest problem we had, is just a lack of ideas when it came to being up front. You make the one run, you have no idea what to do after that. You make that one pass, you just stand and wait to see what's going to happen. It's got to be more than that, and that's very basic stuff. So the fact that he hasn't switched any of that and we're still doing the same thing, that's kind of a problem. And especially for a manager who's supposed to be very experienced, it should be easy to come in and say, all right, here's your problem. Let's work on it. Let's fix it. Boom, we're good. So, we'll see what happens, but in my opinion, that's the most frustrating thing for me right now, is seeing that that hasn't changed from Lampard to Tuchel. And that's very easy to fix. It's very easy to work on that in practice. We make the run, make another run, make another run. It's if you're not moving, well, hey, we'll make you run some other way then. Like, I don't know. It feels like it should be an easy fix, but anyways, talking individuals, Kepa honestly had a good game. He's had these games in the past though, so when I say this, I'm not saying like, oh, he's the keeper we always thought we were going to get. I still don't think he's going to be that for us. I still think it's going to take a lot for him to get to the level that we need him to be. But he has these games like this one where he makes some good saves. He's very energetic. He's getting there. He's beating players to the ball. And he seems like he could be a legit professional keeper. But the problem is these games happen so few and far between. Most of the time, it's not this. But, I mean, bravo for the performance today. He did make some he made a lot of game-saving saves, and he also did a lot of good clearances as well. So, yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I thought he played well. Now, am I saying I want to see him when we play in the weekend? Not at all. But credit where credit's due. The back three, we'll talk about. It's kind of hard because it's like, well, I want to talk about the back two. No, wait, we start with the back three. But we'll just, I guess I'll kind of run through all the defensive players first. Christensen, not really that great today, not terrible, but definitely a lot of giveaways, and he was subbed at halftime probably because of that. But yeah, it just seemed like he wasn't really up to the pace today for some reason. It just seemed like he wasn't really ready for a lot of what was going on. Honestly, I do think that one of the things that could have helped that is he should have been the center man. And I've talked about this before, I think, where Silva, the reason he does so well in the center is because he reads the play very well, and he's allowed to read it because he can sit deeper. Christensen, I've always felt like he doesn't read it very well sometimes, but when he's the center guy, he's good on the ball, and so he can be that deep man, so whenever we do win it back, he's the player you drop it to, and then he can find a good pass. But today he was playing out on the right, and Zuma was center, and I felt like that was a weird choice, because Zuma, he's not great on the ball. And while he is a good defender, I also don't think he necessarily reads the play very well either. So to have him in the center is kind of like, what is he going to do there? What's that going to bring for us? Because in my opinion, it just felt like we didn't really know what we were doing in the back. And that hurt us a lot because not only were they kind of carving us to pieces at times, but also, again, we look to keep possession in our back line for some reason. And so whenever you've got a back line that's not only not organized, but also you've got a guy in the center of the back three that doesn't play very well with his feet, it's not a good combination for me. So I feel like, neither of those two really had a good game, but they weren't helped because I don't think that's where they play their best in a back three. Emerson is just he's not a center back, so I don't know what he's doing back there, and it showed sometimes. When he went to fullback in the second half, I didn't have any serious problems with him. I felt like there were times where he wasn't turned on, but honestly, I think that's really a criticism I can give to almost everyone. There was a point in the game, mainly later on in the second half, where it just felt like we all started walking. And even the players that you don't expect to, like Conte or like Gilmore, like even they were walking and taking things very slowly. So I just think for some reason in the second half, like I don't know if it's just the applied pressure that Barnsley were given to us, or I don't know what, but we just started taking things way too easily in the second half. So I'm just gonna go ahead and throw that criticism on everyone. Like there's no one individual that caused that. But yeah, so Emerson didn't really do anything today. And then Alonso was, left wing back. I don't even remember him being in the game, to be perfectly honest. So not a good sign for him because he's somebody who came flaring in that first game when he got to play left wing back, and now he's disappearing against the championship side. So this is why, again, Lampard, I'm sure, wanted to probably try to use him, but if you're not going to be consistent, then we can't rely on you. Hudson-Odoi, though, again, I already mentioned it, but I thought he did pretty well at that right wing-back role. Defensively, he can still hurt us from time to time just because he's not used to having to constantly work back, but he still does for the most part. But the main thing for him being out there is just that's where he's best. When he's driving down the line or when he's taking it from the line and driving inside. I mean, that's what he does best. So when you take him out of that role and put him more central, like in the front three, he's just not as good there. So I think today really showed he and James, I think, need to be fighting for that spot. That needs to be the two out there right now. And maybe even if you're looking for more attack, you go with Hudson-Odoi, but if you're looking for more defense, that's where you go with James. So I feel like that's two good options right there. But yeah, unfortunately for Hudson-Odoi, though, I don't think he really did enough to say, like, yes, he's definitely the right wing back we need right now. Like, I still feel like James is probably the preferred one there. But overall, I mean, I'm still impressed from what I've seen from him from that wing back role. In the center, Gilmore and Conte both had a lot of energy in the first half, and like I said, they dropped off near the end of the game, but I mean, they both showed why they need more time, because even though they're not used to playing with a back three behind them and a front three in front of them, it's a different formation, it's a different style than what they're used to under Lampard. They still both played well. I mean, Gilmore still had some of the best distribution that I've seen from Jorginho, and I don't even think Gilmore had a great game today. It's just he shows so much more quickness and energy when he's on the ball than Jorginho ever does. And then Conte, he's just a little ball of energy. He can run constantly. He puts a lot of pressure. He's very, very good defensively. I mean, it's hard not to pick him when he's fully fit. So as long as he's 100%, I say you can't not choose him. So yeah, both of them, again, I think the new formation hurt them a little bit, but I still think they did fairly well and they still had some good moments. So solid performance from the both of them. And then the front three, Pulisic pretty quiet today again, and it's just, I don't know. It's hard because sometimes he's flying and then sometimes he can't do it against championship side. So you can't keep relying on somebody who's not going to be consistent. And whether it has to do with injury, I know Tuchel was saying there was something family related, which is why he wasn't on the bench against Sheffield. So maybe he's still dealing with that, like it's more emotional or mental than it is physical. But, I mean, he's still young, so he's got time to grow. But if you're not going to be able to do it against the championship side, then it's going to be hard to say, well, we can trust you to carry us forward. Hazard was doing it constantly, no matter what team he faced. It was very rare that he just completely got shut out of a game and you just didn't notice him. Like he was always involved. And I'm not saying, Pulisic should be like Hazard, but when you have a creative player in there, you expect them to be involved in a lot of the attack, and he's just not, unfortunately. He's very rarely involved in our attack. So definitely needs some improvement there. Ziyech had a few more good moments. I know he got subbed pretty early on in the second half for Anjorin. And I think there was something to do with like his fitness, which is why he missed a couple games. But he has those moments where all of a sudden he does something fantastic. And it's like, that's why we need him in the side. But then he also has his moments where he tries to do something that's too much, and he does it at a time whenever we need to maybe keep the ball moving a little bit more, and he tries to do something clever and gives it away. So it's like kind of an up and down situation with him right now. And I really do hope that he can find a bit more consistency and he can get some more playing time, because when he's playing well, I mean, he's fantastic. But on days like today, he's just kind of hit or miss. and we don't need a hit or miss player, unfortunately. So we need him to step up. So we'll see what happens going forward. But yeah, right now it's just he's either on or he's not, and when he's not, it's hard to really pick him. Abraham, in my opinion, man of the match, for more than just a goal. Like, he did a lot on both sides of the ball. And the problem is that we gave away so many corners and so many free kicks, like right outside the box, that he was required to be in our box a lot. So take that with a grain of salt. It's like he did a lot of great stuff defensively for us, but why is your striker having to do a lot of great stuff for us defensively? It's because we're giving away too many set pieces. But yeah, I thought, he worked hard. I thought he got on the end of a lot of good passes, and it was just one of those games where he's kind of unlucky because the service wasn't really getting to him. He made a lot of good runs. Honestly, he could have won a penalty in the first half, and that might have changed the outcome and the flow of the game a little bit more. Because just going to be perfectly honest, I mean, that was a penalty. Like, it's one of those where the guy kicks his foot and his foot kicks the ball, and so the referee can't really see that, and it happens so quickly that it's easy to miss. And unfortunately, no VAR, so they're not going to be able to see it either. But, he put himself in those good situations and those good positions quite a bit. So I really feel like, he was doing as much as he could to make things happen for us. But aside from that, like I said, he just was doing a lot defensively. And that's what you want out of your striker. Most of the time, if you've got a striker who's good in the air, you want them to help out defensively. You want them to be in there for the set pieces, and he was. So, in my opinion, he still has some room to grow, but I thought he played his socks off. And he's trying to show, why he needs to be picked more. And I thought he did that tonight. Of course, it's still going to be hard because you've still got Giroud, who's just a natural finisher. And then you've got Werner, who you want to try to get him firing because he can be a clinical striker as well. So it's like trying to fight for your position with somebody who scores every other game and then somebody who needs to play to get his confidence up. It's kind of hard to compete with that. But I like the fact that he is working so hard and he is giving everything he can because, hey, if you're going to keep doing that, it's going to be hard not to pick you. So he just, hopefully, he starts to get the service a bit more that he needs to be the finisher that I think eventually he will be. But for everything else, though, for all of the other work that he did, I definitely give him man of the match beyond a shadow of a doubt. Then as far as the subs, Rudiger and James both came in at halftime. Both solid enough. They were brought in to provide a bit more defensive cover, and they did that okay. It's still a couple of instances of, with Rudiger, it's kind of a mental lapse thing. With James, it's kind of an inexperienced youth lapse. But they both had moments where either dumb challenges or bad passes or getting caught out of position. So they played okay, but they still had those lapses that were pretty frustrating. And Joran came on for Ziyech, and he had some flashes of brilliance, which is promising to see from a youngster, but not enough to really say that he's fighting for a starting spot right now. He's still very much all right, we'll probably use you in a cup. But, I mean, still hopefully bright future ahead of him, so we'll see where he goes. And then finally, I think Kovacic was the last sub on. I don't think anybody else was subbed. Hang on. Because I remember thinking at some point that I was wondering why he didn't use a fifth sub, because I know they can use 5, and he made 2 subs at halftime, which don't... You can make 3 separate sub, times. It's hard to really describe with words, but essentially, you can make 5 subs, but in the second half, you can only have 3 times 2 sub. But if you sub at halftime, I'm pretty sure that doesn't count as one at the time. So I was wondering why he didn't make a 5th one, and yeah, he didn't make a 5th one. But yeah, Kovacic was the last one to come on, and honestly, not that great from him. What we really needed from him was to be that kind of calm, composed, break up the attack play for Barnsley, which generally he does very well. it's a role that I've likened to Darlington Nagbe at Atlanta United, just because it was something that he did so well for us whenever he was here. He just, whenever he would receive it, pressure would come, and then he'd break that first line of the press, and he was just so good at turning and going so quickly that that press would come and he'd be past it, and now we can get up, and now we have a chance to get players forward, and they now have to retreat. Kovacic is somebody who does that very well. He's very good on the turn. He's good at seeing a situation and getting out of pressure very quickly, so that way we can kind of reset, reorganize, and have a chance to catch our breath. But today he just wasn't doing that for some reason. Like, it could have been the turf. The turf wasn't great. But in my opinion, when you've played enough, you should at least be somewhat used to playing on bad pitches, because I'm sure you've played on bad pitches somewhere before. But yeah, he just wasn't really working for him today, and definitely was not giving us that kind of sense of assuredness whenever we get possession back. So a little disappointing from him today. But overall, I mean, I'm not upset that we made it through. I'm upset with the fact that we really are not showing any signs of improvement. We haven't lost yet. We've beaten almost every team. We drew the first game, but that we've won since then. That's great and all. But the problem is eventually we're going to hit that stumbling block, because the way we're playing, we're leaving ourselves wide open to get beat. We're not doing enough on the attack to put games away. Defensively, we're still giving up so much possession in our back line, because we're trying to keep so much possession back there, that anytime a team puts a bit of pressure on us, now we're struggling. Now we can't keep hold of the ball. Now we're giving it away, or we're having to boot it downfield and go up for a 50-50. It's just not good enough, and it's still too slow. So, I don't know. Could Tuchel succeed? Absolutely. I mean, it's only 5 games in. He's still got time to turn things around, but it's 5 games in, and things have not changed at all. Like, as far as the problems. Everything is still the same when it comes to our problems that we're having. So if the changes that you've made have not fixed the problems, well, then try to figure out what can fix the problem. So we'll see. But all in all, disappointing win, which is weird to say, but yeah, overall I'm disappointed with the performance, and I'm disappointed with the players and the manager and how things are being handled right now. Like, it's got to get better. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on the game? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.